The Hyena's Gambit. Before the battle, Eagle had orchestrated a plan so cunning and layered that it seemed infallible. He had enlisted the help of a hyena who had once been bribed to deliver a letter to Roos, leading to Roos' death. This same hyena was now tasked with delivering a crucial message to Boosie. The hyena approached Boosie with a glint of malevolent satisfaction in his eyes. "We have no better opportunity than this, boss," the hyena hissed. "Before, he helped us eliminate Silverback. We spared him. But this time, there will be no mercy." Boosie nodded, the lines of his face hardening with determination. "Yes. We must destroy him. As long as he lives, he is a reminder of Roos' death." The hyena continued, "Gather our brothers and wait for my signal, boss." Eagle's meticulous planning had left nothing to chance. His first move was to send the 10 great assassins to eliminate Rondu. But Eagle was a man who understood the value of contingency. If the assassins failed, he had a second plan ready to deploy: the hyenas. Eagle was acutely aware of the animosity between Boosie and Rondu. By exploiting Boosie's deep-seated hatred, Eagle aimed to orchestrate Rondu's downfall. His strategy was to fan the flames of Boosie's resentment, ensuring that Boosie would stop at nothing to see Rondu dead. As Rondu made his way down from Mount Evi, he was unaware of the machinations unfolding around him. He had defeated the 10 great assassins, but the shadow of death still loomed large, orchestrated by the very man who had once saved him. Boosie, fueled by the memory of Roos and the promise of vengeance, gathered his forces. The hyenas, ever loyal to Boosie, awaited their moment to strike. Eagle, watching from the shadows, knew that his plan was nearing its culmination. The chess pieces were in place, and the final move was imminent. The hyena had fulfilled his role, ensuring that Boosie was primed and ready for the signal. Now, it was only a matter of time before the final confrontation would erupt, a deadly clash between Rondu and the forces that sought his end. Eagle's plan was as cold and calculating as ever. He was a master manipulator, turning allies into enemies and using every tool at his disposal to achieve his goals. As the hyena slinked away into the darkness, the stage was set for the final act in Eagle's grand scheme. The world of the gangs would soon be rocked by a confrontation that would determine the fate of all involved. Rondu, unaware of the storm brewing around him, continued his journey. But the shadows were closing in, and the final battle was about to begin. The hyena ambush. Rondu suddenly heard the roaring sounds of motorcycles behind him. He turned his head, and the blinding lights from dozens of motorcycles illuminated the darkness, focusing on him. Instantly, he recognized the imminent danger. Moments later, a barrage of bullets sped towards him, the sound of gunfire ripping through the night like thunder. The motorcycles surged forward, their engines growling like beasts hungry for their prey. Realizing he was outnumbered and unarmed, his saber and the sharp knives had been stolen by the 10 great assassins, Rondu knew he had only one option. He had to run in a zigzag pattern to avoid the deadly hail of bullets. His heart pounded as he darted left and right, his feet barely touching the ground, driven by the instinct to survive. The hyenas, relentless and vicious, fired relentlessly at him from their speeding motorcycles. Bullets whizzed past him, each one narrowly missing its mark. The night was filled with the cacophony of gunfire, the growling of engines, and the shouts of the hyenas as they closed in on Rondu. Rondu's mind raced as fast as his feet. He needed a plan, a way to turn the tables. For now, he had to keep moving, had to stay one step ahead of the death that pursued him. His agility and speed were his only allies in this desperate flight. Every muscle in Rondu's body screamed in protest, but he pushed through the pain, his determination burning brighter than the headlights that hunted him. The terrain was rough and uneven, but he used it to his advantage, leaping over obstacles and using natural cover whenever possible. The hyenas howled in frustration as their bullets struck only the empty space where Rondu had been moments before. The wounded runner. The hyenas decided to speed up, determined to chase Rondu to the bitter end. Rondu ran faster and faster, his feet barely touching the ground. He was astonished by his own ability. Boosie, frustrated, shouted, "How is this possible?" He's running as fast as our motorcycles. Boosie fired a barrage of bullets toward Rondu. The bullets whizzed past his head and shoulders. One bullet grazed his arm, and another struck his thigh. The bullets hit the soft tissue, but the blood poured out profusely. Rondu gritted his teeth, enduring the pain from the bullet wounds, and kept running. His speed seemed almost supernatural, each stride propelling him forward with incredible force. He could feel the wind rushing past him, his mind focused solely on survival. The bullets had taken their toll, though. Blood streamed down his arm and leg, leaving a crimson trail in his wake. The pain was sharp, burning, but Rondu pushed it to the back of his mind. He couldn't afford to slow down, not even for a moment. Every step was a battle against the agony that threatened to overwhelm him. He could hear the relentless roar of the motorcycles behind him, the shouts of the hyenas growing louder. They were closing in, and Rondu knew he had to find a way to escape their deadly pursuit. The enigmatic sanctuary. In the midst of danger, a voice echoed in Rondu's mind, "Run west, Rondu. Head towards the dead forest. The AI monk will help you." Rondu replied, "I don't understand what you're saying." The voice continued, "Just run west, and I will guide you." Despite the significant blood loss, Rondu increased his speed, sprinting westward as directed by the mysterious voice. Bullets still whizzed past him, but he pushed through the pain and fear. Before him, a dense forest appeared, notorious for its lethal traps and the fact that no one had ever emerged alive. The voice spoke again, "Shout, help me, AI monk." Without hesitation, Rondu yelled, "Help me, AI monk." Suddenly, a green light appeared in the distance. "Follow the green light, Rondu," the voice urged. Rondu followed the light, and to his astonishment, the trees began to move, creating a path as if inviting him into their depths. As Boosie and his gang reached the edge of the forest, Rondu had already disappeared into the dark, mysterious woods. One of Boosie's henchmen cautioned, "Boss, don't go in. This is the dead forest. No one has ever come out alive. If we enter, we'll get lost and never find our way out." Boosie pondered for a moment, then declared, "If Rondu can enter, then so can we." With that, he ordered his men to follow him into the deadly forest. Rondu pressed on, following the green light that seemed to beckon him deeper into the heart of the forest. The trees around him continued to shift, closing the path behind him and opening new ones ahead, guiding his way. Despite the eerie atmosphere and the legends surrounding the forest, Rondu felt a strange sense of hope and determination. He couldn't afford to slow down. Boosie and his gang were relentless, and any hesitation could mean his death. The pain from his wounds was excruciating, but the voice in his head kept him focused. "Keep going, Rondu. The AI monk will help you." As he ventured further, the blue light grew brighter, illuminating his path. He noticed that the deeper he went, the quieter it became, as if the forest itself was shielding him from his pursuers. The air grew cooler, and the scent of moss and damp earth filled his lungs. The whispering shadows of the dead forest. As Boosie ventured deeper into the dead forest, a sense of unease began to gnaw at him. The trees, which once stood tall and still, now seemed to shift and move of their own accord. He turned back, hoping to see the path they had entered through, but it had vanished. The trees had closed in, their branches intertwining to create an impenetrable barrier. A cold shiver ran down Boosie's spine as he realized the gravity of their situation. They were trapped, ensnared by the very forest that had a reputation for devouring those who dared enter. The once faint rustling of leaves grew louder, transforming into a chorus of eerie whispers that filled the air. It was as if the forest itself was alive, communicating in a language of its own, a language that spoke of doom and despair. "Boss, what do we do now?" one of his men asked, his voice trembling with fear. Boosie tried to maintain his composure, but the fear in his eyes was unmistakable. "We keep moving," he ordered, though his voice lacked the conviction it usually held. "There has to be a way out." But with each step they took, the forest seemed to grow more hostile. The trees loomed closer, their branches stretching out like skeletal fingers ready to ensnare them. The ground beneath their feet felt unstable, as if it could give way at any moment. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, filling their minds with dread. Boosie could feel the fear of his men escalating, their confidence eroding with every passing second. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decay, making it hard to breathe. "Stay close," he commanded, trying to project an authority he no longer felt. The whispers in the forest took on a sinister tone, like the murmurs of lost souls trapped in an eternal limbo. They echoed through the trees, creating an atmosphere of unbearable tension. Every rustle of leaves, every crack of a twig seemed to signal impending doom. One of the men screamed as a branch grazed his shoulder, sending him into a frenzied panic. "We're going to die here," he yelled, his voice breaking with terror. "This place is cursed." Boosie grabbed the man by the collar, shaking him violently. "Get a hold of yourself," he shouted, though he too felt the creeping tendrils of fear. "We must be strong." But even as he spoke, Boosie knew that the forest was playing with them, feeding on their fear. The shadows seemed to close in, the darkness pressing against them from all sides. It was as if the forest itself was a living entity, a malevolent force that thrived on the despair of those who dared to enter its domain. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, like the relentless tide of a dark ocean. They spoke of forgotten secrets and ancient curses, filling Boosie's mind with visions of hopelessness. The trees swayed in the breeze, their leaves rustling like the hushed murmurs of an unseen audience. "Boss, we need to get out of here," another man pleaded, his voice barely a whisper. "This place is going to kill us." Boosie's resolve began to crumble. He could feel the weight of the forest pressing down on him, the suffocating presence of an unseen menace. The path ahead was obscured by darkness, and the way back was blocked by the encroaching trees. They were trapped, ensnared in a nightmare from which there seemed to be no escape. The forest's whispers grew louder, more urgent, as if urging them to surrender to their fate. Boosie's heart pounded in his chest, the fear threatening to overwhelm him. He had led his men into a death trap, and now there was no way out. "We keep moving," Boosie said, though his voice was barely audible above the cacophony of whispers. "We find a way out." But deep down, Boosie knew that the forest had them in its grasp. The dead forest, with its shifting trees and sinister whispers, was not a place that allowed for escape. It was a place of no return, where the living became lost and the dead found eternal rest. As the whispers closed in around them, Boosie felt the cold hand of fate tightening its grip, drawing them deeper into the shadows of the dead forest. The artificial abyss, survival in the dead forest. The dead forest was not a natural creation, but a meticulously designed construct of ancient humans. Its shifting trees and eerie whispers were the results of an advanced AI system, controlling the movements of the flora based on complex Go algorithms. The forest was a labyrinthine trap, and escape was nearly impossible. Only a stroke of luck, and perhaps 1,000 years, might see Boosie and his gang find a way out. But in the meantime, they faced a harrowing struggle for survival. The forest's environment was merciless. Devoid of water and food, it was an inhospitable prison. As days turned into weeks, the men of Boosie's gang began to feel the creeping grip of hunger and thirst. The initial bravado and determination gave way to desperation and despair. The merciless environment. The dense canopy of trees blocked out the sunlight, casting perpetual twilight within the forest. The air was thick and humid, and the ground was covered in a tangle of roots and fallen leaves. The whispers of the forest, which once seemed distant and haunting, now felt like a constant reminder of their impending doom. As the days passed, the lack of food and water took its toll. Their bodies grew weak, their movements slow and labored. The once tightly knit group began to fray at the edges as the primal instinct for survival took over. The descent into desperation. Initially, they tried to ration what little supplies they had, but it was never enough. They foraged for anything remotely edible, but the forest offered no sustenance. The trees bore no fruit, the ground yielded no roots, and the streams ran dry. Dehydration set in quickly. Their lips cracked, their throats parched. Hallucinations began to plague their minds as their bodies cried out for water. Some men were reduced to sucking on the dew that occasionally gathered on the leaves, a pitiful attempt to quench their thirst. Hunger gnawed at their bellies, an insatiable beast that demanded to be fed. Boosie watched as his men grew thinner, their eyes hollow and desperate. The whispers of the forest seemed to mock them, the trees shifting to trap them further in a maze of despair. The grim reality of survival. As days turned into weeks, the harsh reality set in. The forest was a place of no return, and they were its prisoners. The group splintered into factions, each man for himself. Friendships and loyalties dissolved as the hunger grew unbearable. Rumors began to circulate among the men. Some whispered that Boosie had led them into a death trap. Others spoke of darker deeds. The thought of cannibalism, once unthinkable, began to surface. In the face of starvation, even the strongest moral codes began to erode. It was said that in their desperation, some turned on each other. The weaker ones were the first to go, their bodies providing a temporary reprieve from the relentless hunger. It was a grim and horrifying descent into savagery, a testament to the brutal instinct for survival. The Whispering Shadows. Boosie, once a powerful and feared leader, now found himself trapped in a nightmare of his own making. The whispers of the forest grew louder, a constant reminder of their plight. He watched as his men succumbed one by one, their bodies wasted away by hunger and thirst. In the end, the dead forest claimed them all. Whether they perished from starvation, dehydration, or the unspeakable acts of cannibalism, their fate was sealed. The forest, with its shifting trees and eerie whispers, was a tomb from which there was no escape. The legend of Boosie and his gang became a cautionary tale, a story of survival gone horribly wrong. The dead forest remained, a silent witness to their suffering and death. And somewhere within its depths, the AI continued its relentless control, ensuring that the forest remained a place of eternal entrapment. The Temple. As Rondu ventured deeper into the dead forest, he was taken aback when a grand temple emerged in the distance. Intrigued and weary, he approached the temple, pushing open its heavy wooden doors. Inside, he was startled to find a towering monk standing before him. The monk smiled kindly. "Hello, Rondu. It's been a while." Rondu was bewildered by the fact that this monk knew his name. The voice in his head spoke up. "You have arrived, Rondu. This monk is not a real person. It's a 3D projection." Rondu, though unfamiliar with the term 3D, understood that the monk wasn't human. The AI monk noticed Rondu's injuries and immediately summoned help. To Rondu's astonishment, a genetically modified monkey, resembling him in an eerie way, appeared with medical supplies. Rondu whispered to himself, "What kind of monkey is this?" The voice in his head explained, "It is a genetically altered species. They are extremely intelligent, but entirely different from us." The monkey, displaying remarkable dexterity and skill, began tending to Rondu's wounds. It cleaned the injuries, administered preventative injections, and carefully bandaged him up. Despite his initial shock, Rondu couldn't help but marvel at the creature's expertise. The AI monk continued to observe, its serene expression unchanging. "This place is designed to assist and protect those who seek refuge. You are safe here, Rondu." Rondu looked around the temple, its walls adorned with ancient scriptures and illuminated by a soft, ethereal glow. The air was filled with a calming incense, easing his troubled mind. He felt a profound sense of peace, a stark contrast to the chaos and violence he had just escaped. The path to unity. The AI monk gazed at Rondu with an expression of infinite wisdom and patience. "Do you have any questions, Rondu? You may ask me anything. I am the embodiment of knowledge." Rondu pondered for a long while before replying, I suffer from amnesia and dissociative identity disorder. There are always two personas existing within me, and along with my primary personality, that makes three. Strangely enough, I have almost recovered 90% of my memories, and these two personas are incredibly kind. They have helped me overcome countless challenges. Without them, I might not be here speaking to you today. Rondu shared details about his condition, the other personas, and their actions. After listening attentively, the AI monk responded, "The advice and guidance you hear in your head come from your subconscious. The knowledge they impart to you is drawn from your own experiences. Your subconscious is so powerful that it has manifested an alternate persona. Based on what you've shared, you have only two personas. The primary one is you, and the secondary one is Silverback." Rondu, seeking clarity, asked, "Is there any way to cure this disorder?" The AI monk's expression remained serene as it answered, "Until the extinction of humanity, there has been no specific cure for those with dissociative identity disorder. However, I possess an ancient method called Sirsasana, a yoga posture. This pose not only offers physical health benefits, but can also enhance focus and relaxation. Sirsasana will help you reduce the conflict between your personas. Although you have made significant progress in harmonizing your two personas, working towards eliminating the secondary persona, you need to practice Sirsasana to achieve complete recovery." Rondu listened intently as the AI monk continued, "Sirsasana, or the headstand, is a powerful asana that requires intense concentration and control. It promotes blood flow to the brain, enhances mental clarity, and fosters a deep sense of inner peace. Regular practice of this pose can help you bridge the gap between your personas, leading to a more unified self. The path to inner harmony." The AI monk continued, "I will guide you on how to practice the Sirsasana pose." The monk disappeared, and an instructor materialized. The instructor began. "Begin by kneeling on the ground, placing your forearms on the floor with your fingers interlocked. Position the top of your head between your hands, forming a strong base. Slowly lift your knees off the ground, straightening your legs, and walk your feet closer to your head." Rondu carefully memorized the instructions. The AI monk reappeared. "You should use the Owl Mountain range to practice the Sirsasana pose. The environment at Owl Mountain is incredibly serene and pure. This is a sacred mountain of human civilization. Use the energy of the moon to accelerate your training process. Tomorrow night is the full moon, an ideal time for practice. Now, you should rest." With a deep sense of purpose, Rondu prepared himself for the journey to Owl Mountain. The AI monk's guidance resonated with him, offering a sense of direction and hope. The thought of tapping into the moon's energy intrigued him, adding an almost mystical element to his training. Journey to Owl Mountain. As the sun set, Rondu embarked on his journey to Owl Mountain. The path was quiet and peaceful, with the last rays of sunlight casting long shadows on the ground. The air grew cooler as he ascended, the landscape gradually changing from dense forests to rocky terrain. Upon reaching a plateau, Rondu set up camp. He could feel the serene energy of the mountain enveloping him. The sky darkened, and the full moon began to rise, casting a silvery glow over the landscape. The night of the full moon. Under the luminous glow of the full moon, Rondu began his practice. He knelt on the ground, following the instructions the AI monk had given him. Placing his forearms on the floor, he interlocked his fingers and positioned the top of his head between his hands, forming a strong base. Slowly, he lifted his knees off the ground, straightening his legs and walking his feet closer to his head. The moonlight bathed him in a soft, ethereal glow, enhancing the sense of tranquility and focus. As he lifted his feet off the ground, balancing on his head and forearms, he felt an overwhelming sense of calm. The blood flowed to his brain, bringing with it a refreshing clarity and a deep connection to his inner self. He inhaled deeply, feeling the cool night air fill his lungs, and exhaled slowly, releasing all tension. The words of the AI monk echoed in his mind. "The energy of the moon will aid your practice. Feel the stability of your base and the alignment of your body. Embrace the stillness and listen to the whispers of your inner wisdom." The awakening of Rondu. After more than 5 days of training, Rondu had made significant progress. He felt more focused and mentally clear. Suddenly, Silverback appeared in Rondu's mind again. "Rondu, it's time for me to say goodbye. You will fully recover in the coming days, and I will disappear forever." Rondu felt a twinge of sadness, as if he were saying goodbye to a brother. "I understand, Silverback. Perhaps it is meant to be." Silverback said, "Farewell, Rondu. Rondu replied, "Farewell, Silverback. You will always live on within me." He felt more balanced, both physically and mentally. The moonlight seemed to enhance his focus, creating a bridge between his personas. He could feel the powerful energy of Owl Mountain and the sacredness of the moment. After 5 days of practicing the headstand, Rondu felt a new surge of energy flowing within him. He sat in meditation, reflecting on this experience. The AI monk's teachings had led him to a moment of profound clarity. He understood that his journey was not just about overcoming his disorder, but about integrating all parts of himself into a harmonious whole. As he meditated, the moonlight continued to shine down on him, filling him with a sense of peace. He felt connected to the ancient wisdom of Owl Mountain and the guidance of the AI monk. The full moon night became a turning point for Rondu. The practice of Sursasana under the moon's energy had a transformative effect. He felt more unified, his personas blending into a cohesive identity. The inner conflicts subsided, replaced by a sense of inner harmony. The AI monk's words rang true. Through dedication and practice, you will find that your personas are not separate entities, but facets of your true self. Embrace them, and you will become whole. The journey continues. After 5 more days, Rondu no longer heard Silverback's voice. He felt a bittersweet nostalgia for Silverback, like missing a close friend. By this time, the moon was beginning to wane. Rondu recalled his master's words when he wanted to practice Flower Storm Fist on Mount Evi. It's not about intellect. It requires intense concentration and exquisite control that few people can achieve. Rondu closed his eyes, focused his internal power, and reversed his meridian flow. Gradually, he began to feel the movement of the leaves around him. He was overjoyed with this promising start. He took a deep breath, his mind fully centered on the task at hand. The leaves and petals swirled gently at first, then with increasing vigor as his control and concentration grew. He could feel the energy coursing through his body, the reversed meridian flow amplifying his senses and awareness. The power of Flower Storm Fist. Rondu continued his practice with determination. Each day brought a new level of mastery. The swirling leaves and petals became extensions of his will, moving with precision and grace. The connection between his mind, body, and the natural world around him deepened, creating a synergy that elevated his training. The nights under the moonlight were particularly powerful. The energy of the moon seemed to infuse his practice with a mystical quality, enhancing his focus and control. He could feel the ancient wisdom of Owl Mountain guiding him, the presence of his master Tammy providing silent encouragement. Mastering the Flower Storm Fist. Rondu continued to practice the Flower Storm Fist with a newfound determination. Channeling his internal power more intensely, he reversed the flow of his meridians. The petals and leaves began to move with greater force, swirling around him and creating a small vortex. As Rondu concentrated further, the petals and leaves spiraled towards him, forming a stormy whirlwind. 7 days passed in this rigorous training, and Rondu felt a sense of accomplishment as he perfected the Flower Storm Fist. Harnessing his energy, Rondu reversed the flow of his meridians once more. The petals and leaves flew towards him like a tempest. Just as they were about to reach him, Rondu shifted his meridians back to their natural flow, directing the petals and leaves outward with incredible speed. Despite their delicate nature, the petals and leaves tore through the branches of nearby trees effortlessly. Rondu thought to himself, the Sursasana practice under the moonlight not only helped me heal my dissociative identity disorder, but also enhanced my focus to perfect the Flower Storm Fist. Encouraged by his success, Rondu decided to push the limits of the Flower Storm Fist further. He attempted to use it on stones, curious if he could lift them. With ease, he manipulated the stones, realizing the immense potential of his technique. On that day, Rondu tried a new maneuver. He concentrated his energy, pulling objects from the ground towards him. As they neared, he used his formidable mental focus and inner strength to suspend them mid-air, creating an environment of zero gravity. The stones, petals, and leaves hovered as if weightless. Rondu marveled at his control, maneuvering the objects in any direction he wished before launching them at a target. The target shattered upon impact, demonstrating the destructive power of his newfound ability. Rondu understood the boundless potential of the Flower Storm Fist, a technique that combined elegance with devastating force. Satisfied with his progress, Rondu reflected on the journey that brought him to this point. The integration of his personas, the teachings of the AI monk, and the rigorous training on Our Mountain had all culminated in this mastery. Rondu knew that with this power, he could face any challenge that lay ahead. As the days went by, Rondu continued to hone his skills, each practice session bringing him closer to perfection. The once separate elements of his identity now flowed seamlessly together, making him stronger than ever before. With his newly acquired mastery, Rondu felt ready to confront Eagle and uncover the deeper mysteries that lay ahead. The Flower Storm Fist was his weapon, his shield, and his symbol of transformation. The serene environment of Our Mountain and the wisdom imparted by the AI monk had prepared Rondu for the battles to come. He was no longer just a warrior, he was a master, poised to bring balance to a world torn by chaos and deception.